A music box. I stared at the small wooden object sitting on the attorney's desk. My grandfather left his entire fortune to my cousin, but all I get is a broken music box? Attorney Phillip Hargrove adjusted his glasses nervously. Ms. Winters, I understand your disappointment, but according to Dr. Elliot Winters' final will and testament, this is indeed your inheritance. Across from me, my cousin Victor couldn't hide his smug smile. Don't look so shocked, Melody. You abandoned the family business years ago. What did you expect? My name is Melody Winters, 29 years old, and until 5 minutes ago, I believed my relationship with my grandfather, the brilliant Dr. Elliot Winters, founder of Winters Pharmaceuticals, had been special despite my decision to pursue music instead of medicine or business. The small wooden box mocked that belief. There must be some mistake, I said, picking up the box. It was beautiful craftsmanship, antique walnut with intricate carvings, but the mechanism was clearly broken. When I tried to wind it, nothing happened. Grandfather and I were close. He wouldn't just. The will is quite clear, Hargrove interrupted, sliding a document toward me. To my granddaughter Melody, I leave my music box, which she will find more valuable than she initially realizes. To my grandson Victor, I leave controlling interest in Winters Pharmaceuticals and all remaining assets. Victor stood, buttoning his designer suit. Well, if that's all settled, I have a company to run. The board is expecting me. He gave me a condescending pat on the shoulder. I'll have accounting send you a small stipend, Melody, family obligation, and all that. I jerked away from his touch. Don't do me any favors, Victor. After he left, I remained sitting across from Hargrove, staring at the music box. Was there anything else? I asked quietly. Any message? A letter? Hargrove hesitated, then reached into his desk. There was this. Your grandfather asked that I give it to you privately. He handed me a sealed envelope with my name and grandfather's distinctive handwriting. I tore it open, my hands trembling slightly. My dearest Melody, if you're reading this, then the inevitable has happened, and Victor has likely already begun calculating how quickly he can dismantle everything I've built. Don't be deceived by appearances. What seems worthless may contain the greatest value. You, of all people, understand that music is more than just pleasant sounds. It's mathematics, precision, patterns. The music box contains a puzzle only you can solve. Remember our conversations about Bach? About hidden messages in plain sight? Trust no one at Winters until you understand what the box truly contains. Victor will stop at nothing once he realizes what I've done. All my love. Grandfather. I read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and placed it in my pocket. Hargrove watched me expectantly. Is everything all right, Ms. Winters? Yes, I lied, rising from my chair. Thank you for your time. Outside the law office, I hurried to my car, the music box clutched tightly against my chest. Batch, hidden messages. What was grandfather trying to tell me? Our conversations about Bach had always centered around mathematical patterns and how the composer had hidden complex numerical sequences in his music. Grandfather had been fascinated by such things. Codes, puzzles, patterns within patterns. I drove directly to my small apartment, mind racing. I'd chosen a different path from what the family expected, pursuing a doctorate in music theory instead of joining Winters Pharmaceuticals. That decision had strained my relationship with my parents, but never with grandfather. He had supported me, funded my education, attended every recital. Now this music box was my only inheritance. There had to be more to it. At home, I cleared my desk and placed the box under my brightest lamp, examining it carefully. The craftsmanship was exquisite, hand-carved scenes depicting what appeared to be Greek mythology. I recognized Apollo with his lyre, but the other figures were unfamiliar to me. I tried again to wind it, but the mechanism remained stuck. Taking a deep breath, I gently pried off the bottom panel. Inside was a complex arrangement of gears and pins, the standard components of a music box, but arranged in a pattern I'd never seen before. Some of the pins seemed to be missing or deliberately removed. Tucked into a corner was a small paper scroll, yellowed with age. My hands trembled as I carefully extracted and unrolled it. Instead of the punched holes I expected, there was a musical score, handwritten notes for what appeared to be a short composition. At the top, in faded ink, Winter lied. Winter Psalm. A piece I'd never heard of. My phone rang, startling me. Victor's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then answered, "Enjoying your inheritance?" His voice dripped with condescension. "Listen, Melody, I've been thinking. That music box might have sentimental value to the company, for the museum we're planning. I'll give you 50,000 for it." My heart raced. 50,000 for a broken music box? Victor was many things, but sentimental wasn't one of them. "It was grandfather's gift to me," I replied carefully. "I think I'll keep it." A pause. 100,000. Not interested. "Don't be stubborn, Melody. You're a music teacher at a community college. You could use the money." "Goodbye, Victor." I hung up, my suspicions growing stronger by the second. The music box contained something valuable, something Victor already knew about. I photographed the musical score and transferred it to my computer, then used my music notation software to recreate it. The piece was strange, just 16 bars, with an unusual time signature and key changes that made little musical sense. Following my instincts, I went to my electronic keyboard and played the piece. It sounded discordant, almost random, not at all like something grandfather would appreciate. This wasn't about the music itself, it was about the pattern. I stayed up all night, analyzing the score from every angle. The note values, the intervals, the structure. Nothing made sense until I remembered grandfather's fascination with Bach's number symbolism. What if each note represented something else? A number? A letter? Around dawn, it hit me. The musical notes corresponded to numbers in a substitution cipher. A became 1B became 2 and so on. When I translated the melody line, it yielded a sequence of numbers. 38 to 45, 12 to 9, 16 to 7, 30 to 44. But what did these numbers mean? I was interrupted by a knock at my door. Through the peephole, I saw Dr. Helena Crane, grandfather's longtime research partner. She looked nervous, glancing repeatedly over her shoulder. "Helena?" I opened the door, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "May I come in?" she asked quietly. "I shouldn't be seen here." Once inside, she spoke in hushed tones. "Your grandfather warned me this might happen. Victor called an emergency board meeting this morning. He's shutting down your grandfather's special research division and selling the patents to Leon Pharmaceuticals." "What special research division?" Helena looked surprised. "He didn't tell you?" "For the past 5 years, your grandfather led a small team developing a treatment for Korsakov's syndrome. We've had remarkable success, but Victor claims the research is economically unfeasible." Korsakov's syndrome, a rare neurological disease affecting fewer than 10,000 people worldwide, including my grandmother, who had died from it when I was a child. Grandfather had spoken of it rarely, but I knew her death had devastated him. "Why would Victor shut it down if it's working?" I asked. "Because the treatment would be affordable," Helena explained. "Your grandfather designed it specifically to be inexpensive to produce and distribute. Leon wants to buy the research so they can bury it. They have a different treatment in development, one they plan to charge hundreds of thousands per dose for." I thought of Victor's sudden interest in my music box. "Helena, do you know anything about a Winterlied?" She paled visibly. "Where did you hear that name?" I showed her the scroll from the music box, explaining grandfather's letter. Helena's hands trembled as she examined it. "Winterlied was your grandfather's code name for the formula," she whispered. "He was paranoid about corporate espionage in his final months. The complete formula and research data are hidden somewhere. He said he'd leave it where only the right person could find it." She looked at me with dawning realization. "He meant you." "But why me? I know nothing about pharmaceuticals." "Because he trusted you," she said simply, "and because Victor would never suspect." After Helena left, I returned to the numerical sequence with renewed determination. If these numbers were a key to finding grandfather's hidden research, what did they unlock? I tried coordinates, dates, various ciphers. Nothing worked. Frustrated, I picked up the music box again, studying the carvings more carefully. The figures I'd initially mistaken for Greek mythology were actually more specific. Each represented famous composers: Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, and there, nestled among them, was a tiny carving that didn't belong, a modern laboratory microscope. The incongruity struck me immediately. This wasn't an antique music box at all. It had been custom-made. I counted the composer figures. 8, the same number as my sequence. With trembling fingers, I pressed each figure in the order indicated by the numerical sequence. On the 8th press, I heard a faint click, and a hidden compartment in the base of the box slid open. Inside was a small USB drive and a handwritten note. The full symphony awaits. My phone rang again. Victor. Final offer, Melody. 500,000 for the music box. Right now. Something in his voice had changed, an edge of desperation. How did you know? I asked quietly. No, what? False innocence. That there's something hidden in the music box. That it's worth more than your initial offers. A pause. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm simply feeling generous toward my cousin. The board meeting this morning, shutting down grandfather's research on Korsakov's syndrome. That wasn't a coincidence, was it? Another longer pause. You've been talking to Helena. His voice hardened. Be careful, Melody. You're dealing with things you don't understand. The music box. Name your price. It's not for sale. I hung up. Within minutes, my phone was flooded with text messages, first from Victor, then from unknown numbers. Threats, bribes, warnings. I turned off my phone and inserted the USB drive into my laptop. It contained hundreds of files, research data, clinical trial results, and most importantly, the complete formula for what grandfather had codenamed Winterlead. But there was something else. Financial records showing that Victor had been secretly negotiating with Leon Pharmaceuticals for months, planning to bury the Korsakov's treatment in exchange for a personal payout of $50 million. My grandfather had known. He discovered Victor's betrayal and created this elaborate puzzle to ensure his life's work wouldn't be destroyed by corporate greed. A crash from outside my door made me jump. Someone was trying to break in. I grabbed my laptop, the USB drive, and the music box and fled through the fire escape just as my door splintered open. I drove straight to Helena's house, calling her from a gas station payphone on the way. She was waiting for me when I arrived, along with another member of grandfather's research team, Dr. Abernethy. We need to release this publicly, I told them, showing them the files. All of it, the formula, the research data, and Victor's deal with Leon. If we do that, Winters Pharmaceuticals could collapse, Helena warned. Thousands of jobs lost. Not if we move quickly, Dr. Abernethy countered. The board doesn't know about Victor's side deal. If they see this evidence before he can complete the Leon transaction. A plan formed rapidly. Helena still had allies on the board. Dr. Abernethy had contacts in the scientific press. And I had something neither of them possessed, legal standing as a Winters heir, even if my inheritance had seemed meager. That night we worked tirelessly, preparing a comprehensive package of information. By morning, it was in the hands of 3 board members, the FDA, and select science journalists known for their integrity. The response was swift and decisive. The board called an emergency session and suspended Victor pending investigation. Leon Pharmaceuticals publicly denied any improper negotiations. And most importantly, grandfather's research was saved. 2 weeks later, I sat in what had been Victor's office, now temporarily mine as the board determined the company's future. The music box sat on the desk, now fully restored and playing a beautiful melody, the real Winterlead, not the coded version. Grandfather had composed it for my grandmother during her illness. Helena entered with a stack of documents. The board's decision is unanimous. They want you to take over as chairperson. I laughed in surprise. Me? I don't know the first thing about running a pharmaceutical company. You know the most important thing, she countered. The purpose of medicine isn't profit, it's healing. Your grandfather always said you were the only one who truly understood that. I picked up the music box, listening to its delicate melody. My grandfather had built a pharmaceutical empire, but his true legacy wasn't measured in dollars or market share. It was measured in lives improved and suffering eased. The Korsakov's treatment, I said finally. How soon can we bring it to market? 6 months, maybe less with proper funding. Make it a priority, and I want it affordable, just like grandfather intended. Victor will fight back, Helena warned. He still owns shares in the company. I smiled, thinking of the additional files I hadn't yet revealed. Evidence of other ethical breaches that would keep Victor too busy with legal defense to challenge my position. Let him try. The music box continued its gentle melody, a reminder that sometimes the most valuable inheritances aren't the ones that come with impressive titles or massive bank accounts. Sometimes they're hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone who knows how to truly listen. 3 months later, I stood on a stage at the announcement of the Elliot Winters Foundation. a new nonprofit dedicated to developing affordable treatments for rare diseases. The board had unanimously approved using a significant portion of company profits to fund it. On a table beside me sat the music box, now the symbol of our new corporate mission. As I addressed the crowd of scientists, patients, and press, I could almost feel Grandfather standing beside me, his hand on my shoulder. The true measure of value, I told them, isn't what something costs, but what it's worth. And that's a distinction that makes all the difference. In my pocket was a small note I'd found hidden in a different compartment of the music box, one that had only revealed itself after the mechanism was fully repaired. Its message was simple but profound. Music and medicine share the same heart. Both exist to bring harmony where there is discord. Never forget that, my melody. I hadn't inherited a fortune in the traditional sense. I'd inherited something far more valuable. A purpose. And unlike Victor, I understood the true worth of what had been placed in my hands. Sometimes the smallest gift contains the greatest treasure. You just need to know how to unlock it.